Hello, esteemed participants. In our panel today, we will talk about integrated governance approach in municipalities. I would like to briefly introduce our guests. We have 7 guests in total. From Council of Europe, Niall Sheerin is the Governance Center Project Coordinator. From the RB Governance Academy, Dr. İnan İzci, he's in the academic member. Mehmet Aktaş from Sultanbeyli Municipality Strategy Development Manager. Akbal, Kadıköy Municipality Strategy Development and External Affairs, and Nilüfer Kent Council General Secretary, and Gönen Orhan. He's from the Şişli Municipality, consultant mayor, and Arslan will participate soon. He's the Secretary General of the Marmara Municipalities Union. I would like to start with Niall.
Give us an overview regarding the good governance from the perspective of Council of Europe.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the very kind introduction. It's a privilege and an honor to be here and be able to participate in this panel today. I want to thank in particular the Argüden Governance Academy for this invitation to participate on what is a very topical issue for the whole forum, cities developing solutions, but also in particular this panel talking about integrated good governance approach to local governance. And it's important to be able to share this with such esteemed fellow panelists. I would like to congratulate the Argüden Governance Academy for securing funding for a project to promote the Council of Europe's 12 principles of good democratic governance in Turkey. And I note with interest that some of the target municipalities are represented on this panel here today. So that's a great opportunity to be able to meet and exchange with some of these esteemed guests here today. So if I can respond to your question, the approach of the Council of Europe is based on several different pillars. We have, as I'm sure you're aware, the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities of the Council of Europe, which is an elected body that brings together elected officials from local and regional authorities from all of the 47 member states of the Council of Europe. Now, their principal mission is to oversee or monitor adherence to the European Charter of Local Self-Governance, which is, of course, the primary legal text, international charter on regulating relations between central government and local authorities, where it establishes the concept of local self-governance and sets the basic parameters for that. We also then have the intergovernmental sector, which is the side from which I come from. So we have within that a committee of high-level officials from each of the 47 member states, which is called the CDDG, the Committee of Democracy and Governance. And so that meets a couple of times a year and works in working groups throughout the year to build up standards and recommendations to member states. Support that, which kind of completes the perfect triangle of Council of Europe cooperation, where we have standard setting, monitoring, and then cooperation activities. We have this center of expertise for good governance. And our role and responsibility is to promote these 12 principles of good democratic governance through activities in the field with our member states. And this panel is about integrated governance. And integrated governance is defined as a holistic approach undertaken by a governing body, a local authority in this instance, to integrate governance into an organization's drivers of sustainable success. The Council of Europe view is that if a public authority, local, regional, or central, can demonstrate respect for and adherence to all 12 principles, then that is an example of good democratic governance, which is by definition integrated and holistic. I hope that's answered your question.
Thank you. Actually, you're right. And we could also think that integrated thinking is a critical issue in such a type of governance. And also maybe we could look at the OECD's whole of government principle in the local level as well as a part of this discussion.
İnan, now I would like to go back to you regarding the governance approach. What is this concept? Naturally, as a priority, the concept of integrated governance comes out from integrated thought. You have to look holistically. What we mean by holistic, municipalities have common requirements and demands, and they want to be turned into services. The integrated thought here starts with the strategic planning. In the next coming 5 years, how the city or the township will be run, and daily life, any employee's behavior, whether or not it is ethical, it makes up holistic governance. The integrated governance in the European Council, the local good governance, the governance processes, the relations of the governance and the decision processes, all of them are talking with a communication, and the 12 principles, and with different principles, they're political, administrative, and being spread out throughout the whole processes. You are very transparent. You are as accountable as possible. You are including everybody in the process, but you don't have any resources to meet the expectations. The most democratic decisions cannot be applied. And at this point, in all these processes, we are seeing that no matter how transparent and democratic you are, you cannot provide any services. And your very democratic decisions in your with 500 handicapped people in you, you are equipping them, but 450 of them, you are not sufficient in terms of basic services. And your applicators, their behaviors, their discourse do not meet the expectations and the ethical standard. At this point, the whole structure collapses. An adult person, in a holistic way, they're being brought to life, goes through the integrated governance concept. We can connect it to such a situation from the day that the mayor has started working, within the time that goes to 5 years. Vision, planning, strategy, the allocation of resources, the service standards, ethical behavior, and fairness will be brought to life in a holistic way, and this reporting, up to the reporting level, which group and in which participation processes, what type of services will be decided, and which directorates will do them by spending how many resources. In a geographic sense, what type of an effect did I create? Thank you very much. You are quite right. looking holistically is very critical in all these processes. The parties and the structures should be related to one another. I will go to Mehmet. The Sultanbeyli municipality is working on this subject. Mehmet, this integrated approach, when you look from your point of view, why is it important? What type of benefits does it provide for you? Hello to everybody. My salutations to all of the audience and the participants. Us and the Marmara Municipalities Union, I would like to also thank the Governance Academy. As the Sultanbeyli municipality, the integrated governance and the NGOs have interaction, cooperation, and partnership in this management style. From this partnership, the determination of requirements and the activity planning, and in all of the monitoring with a multi-actor understanding, the traditional public governance means that the requirements are done with a preliminary determination, and the citizens who are receiving the services, all of the stakeholders' requests are taken, and an inter-institution way it is considered the representation of various groups, the protection of human rights, and providing services. Integrated city governance is an important factor. Here, it's important to have the rights of every individual who lives in the city, and the reshaping of the city, they are actively taking place. Not just the present citizens, but it also includes the rights of coming future generations for producing services and creating a collective force and resource utilization, making decisions in environmental and social dimensions, being aware of their responsibilities. Here, in the section of observation and assessment, it's a critical situation. As a result of an activity, the change that comes about, actions, activities, projects, and the effects on the citizens of the township, and the results being analyzed, is the most important phase of sustainable integrated governance. And the follow-up of indicators means that they will be shared transparently with the public opinion as a reflection of the integrated governance, and the monitoring assessment should be done. It serves the efficient utilization of the budget. When we look from these angles, the children, women, handicapped, senior citizens, and migrants can be represented, and their inclusion in the work to be done. And when creating this participation, the equality between groups should be provided, and decisions to be taken and the spending to be done will be done in a transparent way, sharing the responsibility and increasing the sensitivity, having a accountable governance understanding can be provided with integrated governance. Integrated good governance also is the key to our development. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have really told it very well how important this participation of stakeholders are. At the same time, the know-how of the municipality is important when shaping all these processes, and holistically you can achieve the target. You have told it very well. I would like to go back to John. When you look at On the Kadıköy side, you have a strategic planning process, integrated reporting. Following, you have a platform called Anlat Kadıköy, and all these platforms are brought together, and you're trying to create a point of view. Why did you need this? Hello, Erkin, participants and speakers. There is not too much to say because of all these experts have spoken. I will be able to maybe touch upon a few points. This integrated reporting was started, the first example in Turkey and in the world in 2018. Before setting out there, we had thought that our services, our activities, this complex structure actually serves what? What is coming out? The value that comes out, how valuable is it in whose eyes? What is coming out? The answer to the question was sought with integrated reporting. And when we did the integrated reporting, we saw that this is not done with certain indicators in Turkey, but in the world, especially the indicators of the OECD and UNDP, how much is it contacting the people to be able to find it? The benefit here on the basis, which values do we create by giving these services? The way to understand this fully is integrating reporting, we said, and we took off on the journey for integrated reporting in 2018. This is on the basis and the process later in 2019 and 20, starting our strategic planning. The reporting logic was transferred to planning, and the benefits coming with reporting and the value analysis and the effect analysis were transferred to planning. And in the result coming out from planning, we saw that at the end of every year, this reporting activity, integrated reports, will show us that we're on the right path. This basic benefit, who did we touch, which values did we display, that was it. Thank you very much, John. Actually, this comes out, the motto at that time was the following: the municipality exists to increase the quality of life of people and to meet expectations, and how much increasing the quality of life of citizens and creating values, they should understand where it was at that time. And as a result of this, what type of service are produced with integrated planning. In the Kadıköy municipality, they are receiving the results. Emre, I want to come back to you. When looking holistically, Mehmet has said stakeholder participation is very important. You are starting from the neighborhood. This participation, what type of a contribution it makes. Hello to everybody. It's quite pleasing to be with you, esteemed participants. As you have said, a holistic approach when assessing it. The neighborhood level should be discussed. It's a very important area. As Nilüfer, we have been working for many long years, because the neighborhood especially is at the center of the public area, with the bringing to life of local democracy. The first stop is the neighborhood level. That's where we get our reference. In the neighborhood, in Turkey and the world, it's a changing concept. It's changed very deeply since the 90s, and maybe it has worn out. Based on these determinations, it appears that among citizens, on being known, knowing one another in trust relationships, there are certain changes and differentiations in neighborhood relations. the solidarity and owning up to the neighborhood. There are some degradations, and as far as what we can do in neighborhoods, we are carrying out the work for a long time, and along with city management and the status of villages are added to it. The internal organization, the solidarity, its relations with the central government change. And I can give you a brief example. Nilüfer's surface area, 2/3 of it are in rural neighborhoods from old villages, and the change can be seen very clearly. Before, in villages, a problem where there were some venues for creating solutions. Now there's only a place that makes demands, and facing them, we have created organizations at neighborhood levels, and it's called Nilüfer Neighborhood Committees. This is part of a holistic approach. Actually, in modern cities, it's suited to the identity. It creates the self-awareness and different social status and classes like age and gender. We are getting them to be acquainted, and the solidarity and the creation of this trust environment. Within this, there are very different age, social groups, people are taken in. This is very important for us because we create our quotas also. And regarding people's own areas of life, they can take initiatives. This is actually a possibility to become free. The conclusions that we're arriving at, they are discussed with different groups. They are valuable in the governance approach. This is the neighborhood of the 21st century. It can be created in this manner because neighborhood, beyond being a geographical limitation, it's not possible to return this with romanticism, and creating the channels for today is exciting and necessary for all of us. Thank you very much. These are very important subjects. Actually, the environment that you create brings people together, and parties and township stakeholders and municipalities, creating trust and saying things about what's to be done and participating in the decision for the future. As it's coming from the grassroots, it's very important. And as far as the spreading of democratic thought is very important. Gönen, I will come back to you. You are bringing to life all of these applications, and this creates a holistic solution with your stakeholders. When planning this, how did you approach? I would like to thank MARUF and the R&D Consulting. I would like to thank you very much. You are doing an important job, and we met.
Now, when you have introduced me, you have mentioned approximately for 30 years, since 1989, I have been involved in many municipality campaigns, visited many municipalities, and I still visit. I would like to draw a different perception for you. On one side, there is a law of 15,089, which in 2005 it was enacted, and also 5,392 was a very positive law on the other side. And on the another important yerel gündem, many local Agenda 21 type of attempts have started to appear as on the civil side. And I'm going to share a different view with you. approximately for 30 years, I'm trying to observe. In 1996, during the Habitat time, Istanbul Habitat time, in Brazil, Puerto Rico municipality was having a proposal, a budget proposal, and we have not heard about such kind of a budget. We can only actually perceive what we know, what we have in our hand. I would like to share a basic problem with you. Yes, there are a lot of attempts, both on the legal side and also on the civil side. However, all of these attempts are not actually being represented in the parliament fully. And all of a sudden, they have created a new social class. Of course, that class is not the class that we understand. With the campaigns, they have created a sense of participation and inclusiveness. But the administration will was still the decision-taking body. And in 15,089, the parliament was gathering once a year, and now actually city councils are not acting like a parliament. Do we have civil society's participation in commissions? In 2002 discussions, of course, civil society's participation was obligatory. However, they have excluded that in the General Assembly. So civil society's participation is not present. What we are speaking right now and may, of course, create an initiative. With Habitat, it was accelerated for a while, but when we look at this administrative concepts, the capacity and administrative capacity is empowerment, and leaving the will to the power hands was the only result. I'm not discriminating in a party. I'm not just saying this is AK Party, this is CHP, this is something else. All of the actually presidents, the chairpersons, are micro-level state authorities, presidents, acting like presidents. There are a lot of actually legislations and regulations, but the representative system and the election system is valid every other 5 years. After you vote for that, we do not see the voice and we do not hear the presence of actually voters. Public side, private side and civil society sides at some circumstances seems to be collaborating, but the decision is being taken by the mayors, by the municipalities. Many vital steps are taken, strategic plans without discriminating any party I'm speaking. They are trying to take steps in urban transformation side, for example. They are trying to bring some certain stakeholders together, but we could not progress because representative democracy is not really representing the citizens, is not really representing the voters, is not representing the neighborhood. Yes, after 300 years, after Thomas Hobbes, we have come to this point. After the social agreement, we have come to this point. First of all, we need to underline the fact that there is a bottleneck situation in representative democracy. You've got 30 seconds left. Direct democracy. You can call it as an environmental democracy. You can make it inclusive. With the public, you can establish a public affairs department and you can have an inclusive step. But the neighborhood will is not really speaking. We have taken some certain steps, but we have time constraints, so I cannot speak. The neighborhood budget. The neighborhood actually will, a civil initiative, has started to be discussed on our side. Other than the public authorities, we have started to question whether it is possible to have a public authority or a civil society authority or not. Okay. It's not appropriate, actually, to speak about the neighborhood. I need to speak about myself. We need to express that there should be a shift from representative democracy to actually the real means of democracy. All the steps you have mentioned are the starting points of some certain initiatives when people recognize that their ideas are taken seriously, and when they notice that their actually power is really enacting some certain things, the things that you have mentioned may change. It is similar all around the world. It is not something only for Turkey and West. We see very good, very positive structures and similar problems. In Holland, in UK, civil society is very active, but they are passing through similar examples. I believe that Turkey is moving towards in an appropriate way. I'm not hopeless in this situation. Both the municipalities and the Union of the Municipalities approaches will show a progress, and they are aware of the needs. For this reason, yes. The picture right now may present some problems, but I believe that the forthcoming years will be much more better because our people have started to question some certain things because of their experiences. Cemil Bey, I will return to you. You do have a structure which is interrelated with different departments. When you think like that, why holistic approach is important? What type of benefits does it provide? Thank you very much. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone. I would like to thank Argüden Academy. They have given us a very good support for MARUF. I think that any type of local government, if we summarize it in general, needs to do some certain taking right decisions at the right times. Human resources, financial sources, and also they need to manage their resources efficiently, and they need to prevent the violations, and they need to manage the risks. And when we draw the picture like this, with the Industrial Revolution, of course, professionalization, increase in production have brought some benefits and ease in our lives, but over-professionalization and distribution of responsibility prevented us to see the whole picture. We are having a fragmented mindset, and some certain units are transforming into ghetto-like structures. They are only looking at the unit effectiveness and productivity, but they are missing the organizational structure, they are missing the city as a whole, they are missing intercity relationships, and they are ignoring the country factor. This integrated thinking and administrative system and reporting system indeed is so much related with making some assessments about relationships. So in that full picture, it is making us to see the value of that picture. So if we do not get rid of this fragmented mindset, we cannot save anything, any source. Doing something good in our own unit does not serve the needs of the actually city level. Maybe that source would be used in another way, in another place. And time loss is something like that. When we look at on local government basis, there isn't an integrated system. There's a waste of actually time. Other than the financial sources, the time issue is an unreturnable thing. And you can, instead of doing one thing for once, we are trying to do one thing many times. And of course, the participation of the people are not taken very seriously. When you don't have an integrated systems, it is not possible to do that. That incredible projects, lovely projects, should be checked, should be measured whether it is up to the needs of the citizens or not. You may take some decisions with some experts, but on the other side, the expectation of the actually people is totally something else. You can be very popular, and in a short while you can do something very favorable, but in the long term it may cause a waste of sources and a waste of time. Without looking at the full picture and without establishing an integrated system, it is not possible to understand that. So the human resources should be used at the optimum level, and you should prevent to be violated. This fragmented way of thinking and doing business and professionalization somehow should be prevented. So you need to have a holistic standing way and holistic point for the democratic actually standing for the human resources, financial sources, and also in order to make use of the sources in the best way, You need to change the mindset. And with the communication technologies, you don't have any barrier in front of you. You don't have actually any barrier. You can provide that. Let me summarize my part like this. Thank you very much. You have explained it very efficiently. Having a holistic view will bring a benefit. When you're creating solution for some certain things, you may have an effect on some other things. So holistic approach is very important. Impact analysis is very important here, of course.
Local good governance approach could be pursued in an integrated manner. Could you give us your views about this? Maybe we could call it ELOG.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'll come back to the 12 principles of good democratic governance that I mentioned earlier, and you will see that they are interrelated and effective when fully integrated into local government practice. Local government, as we've heard from the different panelists here already, is a sphere where our citizens have their first and most frequent interaction with public authority. So it is important that they can participate and are represented. And I think every speaker here today has addressed the importance of effective participation. And in particular, Gönen highlighted, the ongoing debates on what is effective participation. So that's key. But the corollary of that is also responsiveness, so that local authorities should respond to citizens' requests, inquiries, demands by engaging with them and responding in a timely manner. As many speakers here today have noted, in the management of local affairs, it is important to be both efficient and effective in the use of public resources. And also to build trust, which is important if we want people to believe in and engage with our local authorities. To build trust, decisions must be taken in an open and transparent manner. And of course, they must respect the rule of law. And as İnan mentioned, they must be based on ethical conduct. İnan stressed the importance of ethical behavior in public decision-making. And local officials also, as we heard from Cemil there at the end, they should have the competences and capacities. We must strengthen the human resources and use those human resources to the best of their abilities so that they can carry out the functions that they are tasked with. And also, Cemil at the end there mentioned about technologies, communication technologies. In the era of artificial intelligence and social networks, etc., it is essential that local authorities are innovative and open to change. Otherwise, they won't be able to respond to citizens' needs or be efficient and effective in their work. And, it's also important to think about the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. And, with the Agenda 2030 in mind, we need to have that sustainable long-term orientation. And Mehmet talked about developing policies with future generations in mind. That is key. And we at the Council of Europe in the years to come will be looking to develop standards that will seek to address environmental sustainability of public action, and also try to disseminate what good practice we can harvest from our member states in guidance on the greening of public administration, both at local level and also at central level. Many speakers before me have also mentioned the importance of good, sound financial management. We're using public money here, so we must use it effectively and efficiently with respect for the citizens who are funding it. And of course, again, Mehmet mentioned the importance of human rights and social inclusion and diversity. And the 12th principle is one of accountability. People must be accountable for the decisions they take, for the actions they lead. And again, on that front, at the CDDG, at our Intergovernmental Committee in Strasbourg at the end of November, we will be adopting a recommendation on accountability. So I think that is a way. So those are the 12 principles. And you mentioned ELOJ. So we have a benchmark based on these 12 principles called the European Label of Governance Excellence. So that is kind of used to measure adherence to each of those 12 principles. But that, I hope, has gone some way to answering your question.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Actually, what you said is critical. And also, I would like to some another perspective of OECD again, which is open government issue, which is very important for local governments as well. But another issue is that information sharing and accountability in this manner. Actually, open government could facilitate the improvement in the accountability. But also the next step is the Open State Initiative, which seems a far away goal for the time being for all the countries in the world. But open government could solve also the issues stated by Gönen as well.
To return back to you, İnan. When I look at this, when I look at the EU's good governance and municipalities' good governance, do we have any parallels? Would you please make it a little bit detailed for us? Gönen Bey has taken the direct democracy and he has made a criticism among neighborhoods. I'm going to leave his criticism aside, but it's a 3,000 year of discussion that he's speaking about. And many places we have experienced these discussions. And they need to be kept in mind, actually. In Turkey, the municipality understanding, as the General Secretary of Marmara Municipalities Union, Cemil Bey may explain it better than me, but when we are constructing new public structures, we are constructing them and transforming them under the umbrella of municipalities. And there are two reasons of that. Social, economical, and ecological life is transforming. The demand side is transforming. And with 2005 reforms, 5,900 and 2018 financial governance laws have brought some certain basis for accountability issues, and they have included some certain processes, and many municipalities have started to realize and started to implement it, and they have got some ongoing studies. We do have very valuable colleagues from city council and from municipalities at the planning and reporting, and also neighborhood participation, and also integrating the expectations of the citizens, seeing it as a data and designing service from that. I'm speaking on behalf of Komşu cards, neighborhood cards. All of them are very important, but think it as follows. When we speak about a good governance, a local good governance, it's just like a body. And each of the organs of this body are the principles. If you cannot operate an organ, you cannot speak about the activity of another organ. When we speak about ELOJ, of course, that excellence award is stating that your general standard operation of your body should be at the level of EU's foresighted excellence standards. So it should be in comply with that. EU Council and Marmara Municipalities Union, Sultanbeyli, and some other municipalities will be acting together at a common project for the very first time. These brands, this excellence, of course, this label will be taken by both municipalities, but we don't give a guarantee because there will be some surveys which are going to be carried on the citizens and also on the municipalities. And the quality of local governance should be standardized and should be accredited. Since 2005, 16 years have passed away, and Turkish population 75% is now living in cities, and even the villages are being transformed into neighborhoods of some certain cities. So both the public authorities, administrators, and now their transformation, and the transformation with the citizens and their relationships with the citizens, and SDG related aspects are something that we cannot postpone, we cannot delay, we cannot spend any time, we cannot lose any time. We should act all of the organs of the body together. If we do not make use of our sources efficiently as municipalities, we will not be able to manage the other things, not only the social services and social aids, social empowerment, women initiatives and cooperatives. You have got 1 minute left, Ina. So at this point, I would like to say that these 12 principles, and which you define as ELOG, and that governance brand principles should be related on the citizenship level, and it should be acting like actually leveraging. And it is not a matter of taking this standard. We should realize this potential. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
As I mentioned, you are doing a certain amount of work, but from the holistic point of view, it's not so easy. It's effective in all of the power balance within the institution. What type of work are you doing? What type of an approach do you do so you can bring it to life? Naturally, this has to do with the macro approaches regarding participatory government, but on the bureaucratic side, there are things we can do in practice. For example, we have to take into consideration that good governance, how can we institutionalize it? This issue of institutionalization is quite important. We have a process analysis in the Sultanbeyli Municipality to include it in the internal processes of the institutions. Our municipality is the integrated governance approach, and the work has started. And this way, the integrated good governance is included in the inner functioning of the institution. In the Sultanbeyli municipality should turn into mainstream. Along with this work, our internal processes will be taken up, and it's going to be important for institutionalization. And when we look at our village elder unit, this unit, the municipality management have awareness and participation, and the HR unit has the orientation training, and stakeholder maps will be created, and participation can be used for workshops of NGOs, thematic meetings, and to include the citizen in the neighborhood activities can be provided. Another important subject is after the civil war in Syria, the migrant population increases in cities. How cities will answer to this, as Sultanbeyli is seeing with since the start of the civil war in Syria, the migrants started to come to Sultanbeyli. All the NGOs, universities, and volunteers were included. And in the provided services, we didn't want to leave anybody behind. And the services for migrants, the integrated governance was displayed. What we need to dwell upon, and when assessing integrated governments, how are we going to take it in a township level? How is this going to be transferred to the general part of the township? How will we have an assessment mechanism? It's not just municipalities producing services, and they're producing services with NGOs and other institutions. When we do monitoring and assessment is very important. Important cities in the world are doing this by integrating them with development targets. The Sultanbeyli municipality, we wanted to do a monitoring assessment in 2019. We have a sustainable office and data analysis, statistical experts, and for performance indicators, we have an industrial engineer. And for analyzing all of the phases, we have a sociologist. And the scope of the localization of targets, we prepared the Sultanbeyli assessment report. Cihan, I want to get back to you. You're the first municipality that prepared this integrated report. What type of a benefit did this create for you? Actually, we discussed a little bit earlier the integrated thought, holistic thought. İnan has mentioned it earlier. In the public sector, the creation of savings and the resources being utilized properly, and the integrated manner of thought is one of the conclusions. As you have mentioned, if you have scarce resources, if you do not use it properly, you get waste. Integrated thought in our public within metropolitan life, many municipal workers have a problem with vision, and what we call stage municipal work. Resources, whether or not they're used properly, being able to determine that with the integrated and being able to take the proper decisions. It is the most niche way of doing this. It's one of the ways that we are also using. We analyze all of our capitals. We're passing it through a learning cycle. What values are we creating? And these values, are they coinciding with global values? The values and expectations of Kadıköy citizens, and are they proper? What did you do? You have two pools with 500-meter intervals. This is how these processes were designed to take proper decisions. Each municipality doesn't need an Alzheimer's center. It's quite popular, Alzheimer's centers. Does each municipality really need them? Do each municipality have a requirement for opening up nurseries? It is the most niche method that will prevent waste. For 5 years, this is what I have experienced. It provides the financial discipline of our institution. It is quite useful, and this is what the use has been for us. Thank you very much. Actually, you said something interesting. You said that not just within the municipality, also outside the municipalities, we need to look holistically outside of the municipalities. Subjects such as Alzheimer's centers and pools could be common solutions. This is a step that needs to be taken. As Gönen has said, perspective and adaptive, leader-focused, and it's advertising-focused. It's a PR-focused municipality. Mayors should have the perspective to create the holisticness. Emre, I'm coming back to you. Now, the Nilüfer municipality, if it's doing holistic service planning, what type of a benefit does it have for neighborhoods to do this? Actually, the subjects we are speaking are showing a parallel aspects, the investments being done intelligently. This integrated system must be established, and for it to be more participatory and democratic, one of the points is the family level. As Nilüfer, we're actually doing the neighborhood level since 2012 in the plan revision. The neighborhood committee's views and recommendations are being used in the revision process. And since then, actually, we are developing ourselves and improving, and the process is continuing. And the strategic plan process, directly the participation of the neighborhood is very important. Actually, the strategic plan work that we've done, the Nilüfer City Council is a very important component. The workshops in neighborhoods with neighborhood committees and the participation of the Assembly of Youth means that these areas can also have a say in the decision, is a more holistic approach. It's a more democratic system. Naturally, the participation levels here can show some differences because participation is not just a single dimension. Some neighborhoods and some sociological levels can show some difference. The point that we find to be very important, and along with the strategic plan workshops, these improvements as a result of their determination, it's a business step, and discussions with the neighborhood committee and the results that come out from there can be planned in this step. And the municipal directorates is a business step. For it to be sustainable, this is a very important step. In conclusion, the Nilüfer municipalities at different levels, it discusses them with neighborhoods from sidewalks to gardens and parks to building permits, discussing them, and the research period takes place, and if it exceeds the neighborhood committees, it can turn into public meetings. This makes the process in a more holistic foundation. As the Nilüfer City Council, we are observing in the area of preparing it. And we have some targets at the end of this process, the planning of the participation level, the strategic action plan being organized. We have such discussions. These are being converted to integrated plans. Dr. İnan made great contributions to us. They're reporting, they're sharing, and to have a participation strategy both on a volunteer level and the neighborhood level are the targets we have. Approaching the strategy, prioritizing is important so we can go to solutions, because if you solve everything, you can't solve nothing. And then I will come back to you. In the subject that you are mentioning, you need to make a serious step to make changes. Your mayor is also providing support. Please provide some information. Again, I'm taking 2 sentences back in order to transfer the participatory budget. I must say that this is a local governmental issue. The Nilüfer municipality is one of the first to be clear. Both in Turkey and in the world, almost all of the works were examined by us. A participatory budget working group was created at the City Council of Şişli. There is no law for this in Turkey, but in those countries such as Peru and South Korea, it's in the laws. Directives were issued First of all, based on the regulations, if there's a bill, a participatory contribution must be made, and an outline came out. In the coming weeks, it's becoming final. Yes, we say participation. Participating is not asking for ideas. Participation is not learning the ideas in the neighborhood. Are we able to carry participation to the power? Therefore, we have two basic structures. After 1 year, we call it My Budget. The neighborhood budget committees and budget committees, a woman and a man, and such as LGBT migrants, children's group being represented with the structuring. We have a Şişli Budget Council. You go to the neighborhood from all of Turkey. Municipalities take the ideas of the neighborhoods and the bureaucrats do the planning. Our wish is that the neighborhood budget committee should determine the requirements of the neighborhood, carry it to the budget council of Şişli, and without going through regulations, they should facilitate the budgeting, but they shouldn't participate in the decision. The macro decisions are done by Şişli Budget Council, but in the coming week, when the budgets are being submitted, Şişli's budget outline is offered, and my budget, my participatory budget with strategic plan and performance plan, the decisions are offered with neighborhood budgets. This is within the general budget, but there are two basic structures. The neighborhood budget committee carries it to the Şişli Budget Council, which says in the 10 teams it makes decisions in Şişli, and it informs the municipality to the mayor. And observation. And finally, there is the observation and auditing council. Since January, we will be able to monitor all of the budget. How will we account? They will know the bids, they will know the contents of the bids, and then they will be able to be included in the spending before going into the norm will of the municipality. And the participatory budget, there's the My Budget outline. We have the directive regarding the regulations, and the Şişli Budget Council can be discussed within the next 1 month. Thank you very much, Gönen. Cemil, I'm speeding up. I am sorry, I want to go back to you. This integrated governance understanding, as far as its application, what type of obstacles do you see in the system? Thank you. In Turkey, generally, the governance system, the government system, in all the administrators and leaders, it's based on this approach. Actually, with a democratic administration, and the basic difference between this management method, perhaps I can distinguish myself from the speakers. I'm disturbed by the oligarchic attitude of bureaucracy, but I think that there is no serious bureaucracy in municipalities. It's beneficial. To be realistic, mayors are elected for 5 years. They're under the pressure of elections. The content of the law for mayors, it requires them to work seriously, but with strategic 10, 15 years, they have to make projections. We have to understand this stress. This stress cannot be neglected. This stress, if you can manage it properly, our governance mechanism and the democratic culture cannot be developed, because the weakness of the democratic culture actually is one of the obstacles in front of the integrated governance system. And second is the accountability and the auditing mechanisms to be strengthened, the internal audit reports, and they're a subject of discussion, but this is very natural in public administrators. They can make wrong decisions and avoid making proper decisions. It doesn't mean there are wrongdoings, but naturally the auditing authority audits them on behalf of the public, and the answers are provided. This is the improvement of democratic culture, the creation of awareness. And I think this is very necessary. The administration must be calmed. Mayors are working very hard. They are every day working very hard, but in the governance systems where there are rules, you don't need to work in such a haphazard manner. Rules and institutions can function, and as a result of them, every time the observation and monitoring mechanisms, this can be reassessed. Otherwise, the democratic culture cannot be developed, and our management system cannot be transparent or efficient, I think. Thank you.
I would like to thank you. You have really explained the situation very efficiently, and you have pointed out something very important, and it is essential to think about that. You are absolutely right.
That will be some kind of a technical question, but what are the key factors in implementing and acquiring the EOLOG? Could you tell us?
Yeah,
and I would like to ask to finish in 3 minutes in this term, because we have just 23 minutes left.
No problem. I'm aware that it's been a very rich and enriching discussion with a lot of very reassuring, very interesting points being made. So, with regards to ELOG, the European Label of Governance Excellence, as with many things, I think it's the journey itself is as important as the destination. Now, as I mentioned in my previous response about the 12 principles, we've established this benchmark, a benchmark for each of the principles. And it should be applied on 3 levels, with the officials within the local administration responding to the benchmark. There should also be a citizen survey of their appreciation of the performance of the municipality vis-à-vis the 12 principles. And there should also be a survey of elected officials with regards to the 12 principles. So that way that you're covering the bureaucrats, you're covering the citizens, and you're covering the elected representatives to get that holistic appreciation of all key stakeholders of governance practice within the municipality. But remember, that's for each of the 12 principles. And obviously, in order to get the award, and everyone loves to get an award and they feel proud and happy to be granted the award of governance excellence. But by applying the benchmarks, I use it almost as a diagnostic tool in many ways as well, because when you apply each of the benchmark for each of the 12 principles to the practice within a municipality, you may be able to identify areas of weakness or areas that need improvement. And that in and of itself, for the elected officials, for the mayor, who then has to go back and say, hey, listen, citizens, we applied this benchmark and we've noticed that we could improve in a question of efficiency and effectiveness, or our financial management practices aren't maybe as good as what they could be. So I engage as your mayor in the next year to improve this by doing X, Y, and Z, and then we'll resubmit. So from that perspective, that's why I say the journey is as important as a destination, because it allows the municipality and all its constituent parts, the officials, who learn more about the principles, the 12 principles, what each of them constitutes, how to ensure effective participation, how to ensure accountability. So, you know, that to me, we will talk in more detail with İnan and others here when we help launch the project that they will implement. But that, I think that's the important thing to be borne in mind. By applying ELOJ, by applying the benchmark, you integrate and inculcate the 12 principles in your daily practice, and that in and of itself can act as a driver to better governance practice at the local level.
Thank you. I agree with that. Journey is more critical from the learning perspective, because during the journey you will learn a lot, and then you could improve your processes for the next time. That's critical.
İnan, I would like to return to you. How do you implement integrated, holistic governance practice? I would like to thank everyone. It was a great opportunity for me. It was very interesting, and really everybody spoke with a great sincerity. If you have noticed, we are speaking about integration, we are speaking about the European Council, and we are speaking about neighborhood. You may ask, what's going on this session? We are majorly focusing on neighborhoods, our neighbors, our regions, and local provinces, and looking at the actually integrated regime understanding, which is composing a municipality structure in this journey. The first sustainable report preparing municipalities are present, and neighborhoods are present, and regional forum is also being prepared by Marmara Municipalities Union, and it is showing the power and experience of Turkey somehow. In what means it shows the power? It shows that ready to transform, and we are showing our full attempt. This is the first one. Secondly, in this field, Marmara Municipalities Union, European Council are two municipalities, and also the other related municipalities, Kadıköy, Nilüfer. Of course, we are acting together, and we aim to democratize and also bring development, and also increase the level of inclusiveness of the citizenships. We would like to be a triggering force, and also we would like to standardize it and bring the service quality at a certain level and make it transparent, all of the declarations. And also, actually, we would like to bring concrete declarations. We would like to bring actually accountable declarations. We would like to bring it to that standard level and concrete level and accountable level. And starting from neighborhoods, Kadıköy, for example, Sultanbeyli, Maltepe, Nilüfer, each of the municipalities do have a strategic scale within the vision of SDGs. And actually, they know that their neighborhood is a part of this world, and they are doing their strategic planning according to this consciousness. In the end of the journey, both Turkey and for the neighborhoods and municipalities, we will have a certain standard of governance, and both bureaucratic, democratic, and financial organs will be empowered. We will take very good lessons throughout this journey, and we will share it with the local governments and unions and civil society as much as we can. And then at this point, our journey is as important as the destination and will create more impact than the destination itself. I believe that it is essential. 30 seconds to wrap up. In the end of the day, why we are doing all of these? It is possible to state that for a more sustainable future, for a more livable world, for a more human and actually happy future, in the main core of these things is the happiness. The solid, actually, starting from the kindergarten time to the funeral time, we do have municipality services in different districts. We do have different activities. So this integrated way of thinking and planning and governance understanding, hopefully, will be crowned by LOG, and hopefully we will be contributing our people. Thank you very much. Mehmet Bey, I will return back to you. You are limited with 3 minutes. In this integrated governance approach, what are the effective factors on your side as the municipality? I will keep my time. The most important factor, as the previous speaker has just mentioned, this approach, integration to the institutional levels, and it should be supported with data management. And secondly, Cemil Bey mentioned that very good integrated governance institutionalization, of course, is looking for the care of the higher authorities, and of course it is essential to acknowledge the higher authorities. And when we speak about higher authorities, we are speaking about the bureaucrats, how they are going to inform the higher authorities. There are some certain global agendas, such as SDGs, Paris Climate Agreement, and on the national level, we have got 11th Development Plan and Presidency's strategic action plans are all related with each other. And so we are in need of a very good process on the local level. On the local level, in Sultanbeyli, we do have a very young population. And of course, we need to integrate this side and manage the process. Last but not least, integrated administration and strategic plan developing agencies are very important in order to cope with the changing situation. We need to open to dialogue, we need to prioritize learning, and we need to act according to data. Thank you. Thank you very much for keeping your time. Emre Bey, I would like to return to you. Holistic way of thinking. If you start to implement that, everyone will join. When we look at this issue from the neighborhood perspective, you have given us some certain tips. What type of a benefit does it create? What is your perception for the neighborhood level and its impact on the neighborhood level? It is possible to state that the benefit and the importance at the end, the participation at the level of city, civil society organizations, and other platforms and structures are all centralized. However, either they are democratic participation tools or not, it is essential to return back to a minor scale, and it has got a certain methodology, and you can name it as family committees. Of course, you can integrate it like that. As a result, the ones who are not able to be included in the participatory process should be, of course, somehow supported to be participated. And there are some certain criteria which we need to place, as it is being practiced in some areas like women groups, disabled groups, and also child group quotas are very important. From local to the central side, there should be a process. Neighborhood is very important for all of us, actually. And when we apply this methodology, when we speak about direct democracy, it's an experimental approach, and of course every city do have some certain processes, some experiences, and we will find the right path by the help of this. In order to make it more sustainable, in order to progress with a more sustainable model, we need to place it forward. From the very beginnings, we are speaking about integrated perception. So with a holistic perception, it is possible to do that. If you would like to take the initiative on filmies, and we would like to democratize it and bring it to the platform democratization from the 21st century values. We can construct this process. We can speak about an achievement. We don't have any other way to do it other than the 21st century's principles. If we can construct it, our neighborhood, our world, our planet will be more sustainable. Thank you very much. Jambe, I would like to return to you. With the integrated report, you are looking at the planning and administration and follow-up process. For example, when you are looking at this, what are the steps to make it easier when you consider the other municipalities? Would you please contribute us? When I was starting this process in 2018, I have noticed that actually we don't have any data in hand. When we are trying to take decision without having any data, we were trying to take decision. And what did we do? First of all, we have made a data-based, actually, decision-taking incentive. Digital platform was also enacted. Data were being collected, and of course, the information was being done via our data platform, and participatory process continued like that. Data-based digital participation system, and here integrated way of thinking is something good, a very good example, positive example, and good examples should be shared and should be spoken out. All of the municipalities should develop an integrated thinking ways, and it should be shared with the other municipalities on the global scale.
And its contribution to the integrated system can be enhanced with government's stakeholder municipalities sharing. Starting from data and going to the process of decision and going to application is very important. You're very right about this, because everything without data is in the void. With the My Budget project, you have a project starting from the neighborhood. Bureaucracy is leading the way in what can be and what may not be. It's in a framework that will contribute to the holistic approach. When you assess it in terms of the bureaucracy and the neighborhood, what kind of an approach can it be? This is right at the focus point of the discussion under the strategy directorate, the Şişli Council, and we have a participatory budget unit. There are three elements. There's municipal bureaucracy. There on the north side, there's the Şişli City Council. It made its own participatory budget commission, and coming from neighborhoods, there's the Şişli Budget Council's third participation. This unit is actually in the representative democracy with the bureaucracy and the strategic plan and the norm staff and the meeting of civilians. The Şişli City Council, together with the municipality, it's a locomotive. In order to hear the voice of the neighborhood, the municipality should not be perceived authoritatively. These working groups are present in the world. This needed to be established. And secondly, when we create this in the center, not the municipality itself, but in the center of this project, our second question is, do we hear the voice of the neighborhood? We can hear the voice of the neighborhood in many ways. In Turkey, we have call centers and mobile types. It's an open door. It's called a neighborhood desk to hear the voice of the neighborhood. With reporting, with a system that operates online, we can collect all the demands of neighborhoods. The neighborhood budget committees see these reports, but since they know the needs and priorities in the neighborhood, They make a listing, ranking in the subject of teams, together with the auditing, the budgets with the audit group. This coordination will be provided. If we take these steps and we recall the administrative law, if we have such an auditing mechanism, that's when we will have real auditing, because what we defend should not be melted on the desks of mayors. There are very valuable efforts in order for them not to dissolve at the desk of the mayors. The power should be shared. This can only be done with organizations such as the neighborhood, the Şişli budget councils. Thank you very much. It's an important coordination center. It brings the parties together and it creates a bridge with the administration. I hope it will make an occasion for very successful work. Finally, I want to go to, I don't know if we can take questions, but I want to ask this integrated approach, what needs to be done? It's a beneficial thing, but it's not an easy process. Some power sharing should be done all the way from the very top to the bottom within the units of the municipality. When we look at this way, what type of an incentive mechanism, what does your experience tell you? As you have said, the journey is quite valuable. Turkey is taking good distance. For example, the strategic plan preparation for 15, 16 years, it needs to be reassessed. Perhaps those who contribute should be rewarded. Strategic plan is the participation in a preparatory stage, and secondly, the relations within the units of the local government, and thirdly, the observation and the reassessment with budget performance program and the activity report. We go from the preparation process to the control of the assembly. Efficiency and resource utilizations are also assessed. Both the functioning of democratic processes, I think it should be revised. This is how administrative systems are developed. We have enough time and data to assess this. This is very important. Secondly, at least in scales of metropolitans, such as UKOME and the Coordination Center, there are such organizations. Although they function slowly, they can be corrected. They are doing good work in terms of the place wherein the municipality comes. In terms of social services, such coordination centers must be established. And these types of coordination centers should be done under the chairmanship of mayors, not governors, but this infrastructure and transportation, the mechanisms when it's transferred to social services, this can be completed in another part of this issue. There may be some mistakes and deficiencies. I think they can be corrected. Thank you very much. I thank you. Everybody conform to the time. We still have 1 more minute and 40 seconds. There's a question from Gülşe. She says that she answered part of the question, but she asked Can and Mehmet, this approach when bringing it to life, what type of difficulties did you encounter? Can you talk about this experience? The biggest problem we are experiencing has to do with the data. You will display the projections and you will make indicators. Data is the base of this. when you do reporting on the basis of levels, it can be done by the data of the governor and NGOs. These must be integrated and taken in the local data collection situation is quite difficult. We are experiencing this difficulty. And secondly, this is a transformation beyond strategic plans. You need to create a new situation, and habits should be changed. We have 20 seconds, and adapting is one of the areas that challenged us a lot. John spoke about data. Actually, we have very little time. I thank all the participants. It was challenging. We did 3 rounds with 7 people. Everybody could tell their ideas. Thank you for the time.